Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video, I am going to be going over how to enter a trade. So if you guys caught our last video, we went over charting, how to find these key zones, our supply zones, our demand zones. If you haven't watched that, make sure you guys catch that video. If you want to know where to find it, you can go on my YouTube channel, or if you are in our group, you can go to Classroom, and it's this video right here. You click on it and it'll bring you to this support and resistance video. Make sure you watch that before you watch this one. So this video is going to be going over how to find our supply and demand zones. Once you find those zones, you're able to identify those levels. Then you can watch this video right now, which is about how to enter a trade. All right, guys. So when it comes to entering a trade, I am entering only at our supply zones or our demand zones, also called our support areas and our resistance areas. And I am not just buying every support and I'm not shorting every resistance. Obviously, that would not make sense. That would just mean that I'm going up and down, right? If I'm buying every support and selling every resistance, that means we're just going up and down. And obviously, that is not a strategy that will work. What I rather like to do is to see what price does at support levels and what price does at resistance levels. So I'm going to go over a couple examples that just makes it easier for us to identify these levels. So if we go on our group, this morning I gave out a trade idea. We can see I alerted to the group that we are looking for AMD shorts once we reach the 157 area. Now, when we go on the chart, we can see we came to around that 157 area almost exactly, and that's where we sold off. And you might ask why? Why did I see this area as an area to sell off? And you can see this was a huge trade. I went in about right here, I sold right here, and I still was able to make about 30% on the trade. And right now that trade would be up about 100%. So how was I able to identify that this level would be an area of weakness? So like I said, this area up here is our resistance area. And then this area down here is our support area. So we'll change the colors. So obviously, you know, the levels below are support, the levels up here are resistance. Now, when it comes to price reaching a support area or price reaching a resistance area, I look at what price did prior to kind of get an idea. So for AMD, I looked at AMD when it came to this level earlier in the day. Now, when we look at this zone earlier in the day, we can see AMD reached this level and it rejected strong. And I'm looking at a 5-minute time frame. So not only did it reject this area, but when we look at the wicks, so we know that wicks are when prices go outside of the open and close. So AMD closed up here on this wick, but we can see sellers from the wick, we can see sellers brought this thing down. Buyers were not able to push this higher, and that kind of tells me something. That tells me, hey, buyers pushed this thing right to resistance, and sellers were super strong and brought this thing right back down. So the second time around that this comes here, I am trying to see, hey, can those sellers do that again? I enter a short position in anticipation that those sellers are still strong at this 157 area. And my strategy is, if those buyers somehow find that momentum and push this thing higher, my risk is only above this level. So if we get above this level, that tells me, hey, those buyers are strong and I need to get out of this. But if those sellers are continuing to push down at this level, then we can get back all the way down here to 154. So I look at the wicks before and I see on this day what are sellers doing and what are buyers doing. So that's what I do when price reaches a resistance level, and I do the same thing when it comes to price reaching a support zone. So I just try to identify, okay, price came to this support level, and we look prior and see, have we been able to hold this support level? And if the answer is yes, then taking trades at this level for buys is a lower risk trade. It's a good trade to take. Now, this overall buying support and selling at resistance levels is a higher risk trade in my opinion, because all you have to identify is the prior candles and how those candles reacted. And I have a second method also, which is I look at book maps and I look to see if there are buyers and sellers at those areas that I am watching. But book maps is very expensive. Not everyone can afford it. So what I would say is look at the prior candles and see what buyers and sellers did at that level, and look at the wicks and see, is it weaker wicks? Is it stronger wicks? And if you do not know how to read candles, I'll make a separate video for that. Now, the other way I enter a trade is when we break these levels, and that is the trades that I like to take. So if we go to our chat, we can see that I gave this alert right here for Nvidia. I said to watch Nvidia at the 890 level, and that I believe this thing can go higher at that 890 level. And if you guys have been following Nvidia, you will be able to see that not only did we hold that 890 level over there, but we were able to skyrocket all the way to 921. Now, this is my favorite type of setup and my favorite type of entry. It's so much easier to read than to read holds of support and rejections. So when I look at my key zones, I can see Nvidia rejected this level here at around 890. It did it again over here. It did it again over here. Right here. And now on Monday in pre-market, I noticed Nvidia broke this level. So Nvidia breaks above this level, and now I like this trade. This tells me buyers finally are finding momentum and they were able to break this level. That's the number one thing I look at. And number two is I look at this wick. So this wick is a red wick, but this candle is a red candle, but that wick is strong, and that tells me buyers are holding this area. And now this trade is an easy one. All I need to do is wait for us to retrace to this level and we're in. So we retrace to this level and we're in, and we can hold until the next key level up here at 905 and the next key level up here at 917. So I gave another trade alert the other day, and it was the same type of idea. So we can see I gave this alert on Netflix for that 482 break to the upside. So now when we look at Netflix, we can see that Netflix has struggled at this level. So we can see it broke below this level, came up, tested it, and rejected and came all the way down here. Few days later, came back, tested this area. Buyers could not find that pressure to break it higher. And then what happened? finally in pre-market, we can see this thing breaks that level. It breaks that level. And in the morning session, all you have to do is see if we are above this level. So we were above this level. You get into calls and you hold this thing until the next zone. And what is great about this trade, like I said before, wherever you enter in this trade, your stop loss is just below this. So 578 is your stop loss, but you are holding this thing all the way up here. You can make 100, 200% trades on this if you're trading options. And this was, I believe, a 3% move on Nvidia. And if we look, this thing bled into the next day and we're breaking above that zone as well. And now this opens up a new trade, which is if Netflix comes down and tests this area, now you can use that first strategy, which is the support hold, because you look further and you see, yes, this thing was able to hold support and maybe it can do that again. The great thing about using this type of strategy is your rewards are so much higher than the risk that you take with these trades. Now, I took a similar trade, but the opposite when it comes to Coinbase. So I just showed you guys when you're trading to the upside. And now we're going to take a look at when you are trading to the downside. So I have been watching this zone up here, the 232 for Coinbase. We can see we rejected this area a few times. Don't get thrown off by these wicks, because the wicks are telling us buyers came in, sellers pushed it right back, and it's still holding this zone. So on this day, I was looking for a similar thing to see, hey, do we open up with strength and break above this, or are we unable to capitalize? And this, once again, is reading our candlestick patterns. So we come to this level of 232, 233, and I am looking this time to see if that strength is there. This trade maybe was not as great, and the setup was not as perfect, because this kind of looked like it was breaking out, but I was looking at the 30-minute time frame, and on the 30-minute time frame, what I noticed is we came to this zone, but these wicks are telling me sellers are still there and this thing is not able to push higher. So I went short at this area, and I alerted this to the chat as well. And when it comes to Coinbase, I like to look at the charts for Bitcoin. So when it comes to Coinbase, I like to look at the charts for Bitcoin. And I noticed a similar thing with Bitcoin coming into this resistance level, that we came to this area, but we can see those wicks right there, and we rejected that level. So guys, a quick recap. When we are going into long positions, we're looking for holds of support and using our candles and price action to determine that, or a break above that resistance level and a retest of the new support. And then we do the opposite when it comes to shorts. I hope this video helped you guys when it comes to entering a trade. And in the next video, I am going to go over how to exit those trades. Make sure you guys watch the original video, or the first video of charting. Then you watch this one, how to enter, and stay tuned for the next video of how to exit your trades. Peace.